I've seen a lot of people get burned by those cheap climbing machines that look good in the catalog, wobble after a few weeks, and then end up gathering dust. The regret comes from spending a few $100s on something that promises a full body burn, but can't even hold steady when you lean into the motion. So the question I keep getting is, does the Body Solid Endurance CL300 feel like a smarter buy, or is it just another piece of gym equipment that will end up in the corner? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you first unpack the CL300, the biggest surprise isn't the metal frame, it's how compact the whole thing feels. The vertical design means you can tuck it into a spare hallway or a modest garage without needing the ceiling height a traditional step mill would demand. That alone makes it a realistic option for anyone who has a living room that doubles as a workout space. The setup is basically a matter of laying out the base, tightening a few bolts, and plugging it into a standard outlet. You won't need a power drill or a friend to lift a 150-pound slab of steel, which is a relief for apartment dwellers or anyone who's not handy. Now, let's talk about the day-to-day experience. The machine uses magnetic resistance, which feels smooth and virtually silent compared to the rattling chain drives you hear on cheaper models. You turn a knob to select a level, and the resistance changes in a way that feels more like an incline than a hard stop. For a commuter who wants to replace a morning walk, that quietness is priceless. You can do a 30-minute climb while the kids are getting ready for school, and no one notices the gym equipment humming in the background. Because the motion mimics actual climbing, you're forced to engage both arms and legs simultaneously. I tried it with a steady climb routine while watching a TV show, and the upper body burn was noticeable after just 10 minutes. It's not just about cardio. The alternating push-pull action recruits the shoulders, back, and core in a way a treadmill never does. If you're someone who enjoys mixed modal workouts but doesn't have the space for a rowing machine and a stepper, the CL300 packs 2 training stimuli into one footprint. Who should consider buying this? First, anyone who lives in a small home and wants a low-impact, high-calorie burn. It's especially handy for people with joint concerns because the vertical motion reduces the pounding you get from running or even elliptical stepping. If you're a busy professional who can only carve out 20-minute slots, the quick warm-up and immediate resistance adjustment make it easy to squeeze a solid session in. Athletes training for hiking, trail running, or any sport that demands endurance in the upper body will also appreciate the specificity of the movement. Who might want to skip it? If your primary goal is pure leg strength, you'll get better results from a squat rack or a dedicated leg press. The climber does work the lower body, but the emphasis is split with the upper body, so you won't see the same hypertrophy gains you'd get from a machine that isolates the quads. Also, if you're looking for a high-intensity interval workout that spikes your heart rate to the max in seconds, you might find the magnetic resistance too gradual. The CL300 shines more in steady-state endurance than in explosive bursts. Now, onto the practical strengths. The first thing I noticed is the stability of the base. Even when I leaned hard on the handles during a vigorous climb, there was no wobble. That stability comes from the wide steel footplate and the way the machine anchors itself to the floor without needing additional brackets. The second strength is the range of resistance. The magnetic system goes from a light, warm-up feel all the way up to a level that feels like you're hauling a heavy pack up a steep hill. Because there's no friction where like you'd get with a belt or chain, the resistance stays consistent over months of use. Third, the ergonomics of the hand grips are worth a mention. They're contoured, covered in a non-slip rubber that stays comfortable even when your palms get sweaty, which is something I've missed on a lot of budget climbers. On the downside, there are a couple of hidden trade-offs. The first is the foot placement. The pedals are fixed, which means you can't really adjust the stride length. If you have unusually long legs, you might feel cramped after a while, and you'll need to be mindful of your knee angle to avoid discomfort. The second drawback is the lack of built-in tracking. The CL300 doesn't have a screen that shows calories burned or distance climbed, so you'll have to rely on a separate fitness app or a smartwatch to log data. That's not a deal breaker for most people, but it does add an extra step if you're a data-driven athlete. Finally, the machine does sit a few inches off the ground, so you need a clear area in.